Switch gears, talk a little college basketball now. And if I said to you that college basketball's Glenn Robinson is about to join us, you'd most likely think Purdue, Glenn Big Dog Robinson, right? I didn't mean that, Glenn Robinson. Although this one, coaching's Glenn Robinson, deserves just as much respect as Purdue's playing version. You see, tonight, this Glenn Robinson could do something that fellow coaches like Lefty Driesell, Jerry Tarkanian, Lute Olson, and even the great John Wooden never did: reach 800 wins. And we are joined now by Glenn Robinson, Franklin and Marshall's head basketball coach. Coach, a win tonight, you hit 800. What would that mean to you?
Well, I think, to me personally, right at this moment, not much. But it would mean that we had beaten Gettysburg and we had clinched a tie for first place in the league. And more so, I think it would honor all the players that really won those games.
Well, then let me ask you a question sort of this way. Only 12 other coaches have ever hit that milestone. You're fifth among current active coaches right now, behind guys like Calhoun, Coach K, Jim Boeheim. So if you step outside it and I told you that some guy was being named with those other coaches, what would you think of that guy?
Well, I think it's an honor to be mentioned in the same breath with those people. I'm fortunate enough to know most of them, and they're great coaches and great people, and they've had the sustaining power. So I would consider it a tremendous honor even to be spoken of in the same sentence.
And you are in that like because you are the winningest coach in D3 history, and you are at 799 right now. And still, I have to believe you get confused with the other Glenn Robinson, as I mentioned. How often does that happen?
It's only happened once that I know of. I was in a hotel at the convention and got a message for the big dog to call one reporter back. Other than that, I don't think we resemble each other very much. And, you know, my whole world is different than the NBA world, so not too often.
Okay, well, let's talk about your world a little bit. You took over the program in 1971. What has been the key to your success over all these years?
Well, no question, good players that are willing to sacrifice for the good of the team.
You still run plays, from what I understand, with those players that you learned from Dean Smith. What's the most important thing that he taught you?
I think attention to detail, planning what you're going to do and practicing it and getting it down to the most basic fundamental. They did drills where they taught their players how to do defensive slides in slow motion. I mean, he really paid attention to detail, and just have the team rehearse so that they can do them under pressure.
You know, it's funny thinking that that's something that has stayed the same over all these years. In your mind, what's the one thing that has changed the most in the game over all these years?
Well, the two things, three-point line and the shot clock. They've changed the game drastically. Obviously, they're still playing around with a three-point line, trying to get a good balance between three-point shots and inside play. But they changed the game dramatically, and you really had to adjust with the way you played and the type of players that you tried to recruit.
How about those players? What's changed the most in the players over all these years?
Everybody asks that question because I've covered a number of decades, but really at Franklin and Marshall, they're still intelligent, highly motivated people that I love being around. So really, I don't notice a great difference from my perspective. They still are young men that really love basketball and are willing to sacrifice a lot to do it.
Maybe it's just now that they all carry cell phones with them instead of having to go find a phone when they want to use it.
That is definitely a difference. You can't drive down the street without seeing another driver on a phone or somebody walking down the sidewalk about to run into a pole.
Which is not a good thing. Do we want the Oprah hands-free, don't use it in the car? From what I read, you actually got a BlackBerry. How has that changed things for you, and maybe how you interact with some of your kids?
Oh, not a great deal. I do have a BlackBerry. I got it because I thought it would be more convenient to deal with day to day. I mean, I had a cell phone before that, so it's not a great deal of difference. I think you have to be really careful. It's very annoying to anyone I've ever met if someone is looking down at their BlackBerry because they're getting an incoming message instead of having the conversation that they're involved in. So I think you have to be careful. Use the technology as it helps and try to still be polite to people.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Coach, your players, you know, you talked about this win tonight, that it's a win over Gettysburg, and that's what matters right now in this moment. Have they said anything to you about wanting to get you this milestone, or what that milestone is in their eyes?
No, we haven't talked about it as a team at all. I didn't think it was relevant to how they prepared for the game, and frankly, I wouldn't even know that this would have been the 800th win if Mickey Blymeyer, our sports information director, hadn't continued to remind me and everyone else with the blurbs in the program and on our website and all those things. I certainly wouldn't know the count at this point.
Well, that is what sports information directors are there for. Coach, thank you for joining us. Good luck tonight in just getting what you see as another win, but the rest of us will look at it as that milestone for you.
Thanks, Dana. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Our pleasure. And Franklin and Marshall is at Gettysburg tonight at 8 o'clock. Earlier this season, by the way, the Diplomats, Franklin and Marshall, beat Gettysburg by 8 at home. Don't forget Rivalry Week.